From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
The Ear to There Podcast, it's time to start the show. Be sure to hold on tight, here we go. Exploring all the different Disney destinations. Ear to There, it's time to start the fun.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Ear to There Disney Podcast. Walt Disney World Word of the Week. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich, and each and every week I will bring you a different Walt Disney World word that give you background information, tips, tricks, hints, history, all kinds of stuff about that word. Basically, it's going to be your Disney fix in 15 minutes or less or more, no promises. And if you haven't noticed by now, I follow a pretty simple alphabetized format. So in just a couple of minutes, you'll be able to guess what letter I'm going with based on the letter of last week's episode. All right, but before I get into the word of the week this week, it is time for the Ask Bob segment of the show. Of course, each and every week, I have Disney legend and Imagineer, the one, the only, Bob Gurr. He comes on the show and he answers listeners' questions each and every week. I think I already said each and every week. It may be redundant. I don't know. I'm going to keep going. Anyway, if you would like your question answered by Bob, you can call the voice line at 267-551-1971 and leave your question there. You can also email it to me at phil@eartotheretravel.com. Bob's done a lot of interviews over the years. He designed the Matterhorn, the monorails, the Doom buggies, the Autopia, the Speedway cars, the submarines. Pretty much, it's been said if it's on wheels and it's in Disneyland, or in this case, Walt Disney World, it was probably built by Bob Gurr. He also famously worked alongside Walt Disney for more than a decade. He's one of the original Imagineers hired before Disneyland opened in 1954. So yeah, he's kind of a big deal. So get your questions in, whatever you'd like to ask Bob, send it to me again. The phone number is 267-551-1971. And my email that you can email the questions to me is phil@eartotheretravel.com. And of course, the Ask Bob segment of the show is brought to you by the Waltland Bus Tour. Each and every month, Bob takes a group of lucky folks on a trip around Hollywood, Burbank, and Glendale, California. Bob narrates and hosts the tour himself, and he points out all kinds of historical places in the history of the Disney company, and especially in the history and life of Walt Disney. To get tickets for the Waltland Bus Tour, just go to waltland.com. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to kick off the Bob section of the show with Bob's own theme song.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails and the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
This is one that I'm super interested in. This is from a friend of mine who works currently in Disneyland. He's I don't want to give his I don't want to give his name because I don't want him to get in trouble. But so this one's about Walt Disney's car in Disneyland. I believe it was called the Runabout.
Yes.
I've seen the sketch of the vehicle that you might have given to Kevin Kidney, so miniatures can be made of Walt's car. Why did Walt need? Why did he need his own car, and how many of those cars did you ultimately build?
Oh, there are 4 of them were built. I did that one starting in late 1960. Walt was a very fast walker, and he loved to walk people around the park, all kinds of, visiting friends and dignitaries, and kind of created a problem. Some of the people weren't able to walk as fast as he did, and then if he walked kind of slow, people would stop and ask him for an autograph, and the minute you stop for one person, now you're stuck, because a whole swarm of people would come around, and then Walt was now stuck with his guests, some of them very important and needed security. And he said, well, isn't there something that I can drive around on Main Street, and I can drive on the sidewalks, and, something appropriate? And I said, yeah, sure. I think a 1903 curved dash Oldsmobile type of style would be really, really neat. We'd make it electric, and you could put 4 people in there. And I knew what a little vehicle like that should look like, all its details. And my boss, Roger Broggie Sr., just kind of looked the other way when I said, well, I want to make everything very, very special, so this thing is very, very authentic. And, a car like that, you have cantilevered springs, the cantilever front, cantilever back. So steel springs, they weighed way more than the body, which was welded aluminum, with the batteries in it, because it was weight sensitive, of course. And tiller steering on a right-hand drive was completely correct, for that type of vehicle. And, little spoke wheels. So I used some Italian Eitel Churchill brand motorcycle racing wheels when I could get the right size tires. All the little things like the steering knuckles, I designed those, and we made those custom. Even the little differential chain cover in the back, I designed. We made a casting for that, made castings for the steps and the pedals and all that stuff. Normally you'd go to the store and try to buy something close, but I thought, this is going to be Walts Car. This thing ought to be really, really exact. So we built the 4 of them, and I picked out all the colors for them, the upholstery and everything, a cute little top. And we used to have a Surrey top, really cute. And it turned out I made an electrical system that we used 12-volt batteries, but we arranged them so that we could use a Lees-Novell diesel engine starting switch, so that you could start with 12-volt and then shift to 24-volt, like a 2-speed transmission. And then I rigged up a little clutch that had BB shot in it, and you could make the clutch so it's tighter or looser by how much shot you put in the thing. And this meant Walt could push the pedal, and the first notch you push the pedal, the car would start moving gently, and if somebody was in the way, you can actually push back on the car, and it wouldn't keep going. But once you got going, if you push the pedal further, it'll go faster, because now it's running on 24 volt. But this way, it was a battery system that didn't use resistors. So the thing, we could run all day with a battery system. And in fact, I made it so it had a quick change battery rack for it. Well, sure enough, look how many times you see Walt driving that little car with all kinds of dignitaries, presidents, and kings, and from all around the world. So that solved his problem. He's visible. He's got his guests. They don't have to walk. And once he's in the vehicle, psychologically, people will not stop him for an autograph. So everybody's happy. Then Walt passed away, and then over time, the 2 cars were sent to Walt Disney World and had been rebuilt, refurbished, and put disc brakes and kind of scooted up with signboards and stuff like that. But the Disneyland ones are still very original.
Thank you again so much to Bob for answering yet another listener question on the show. And thank you to my nameless friend who sent in that question. It's something that I very much wanted to know, and that person that sent the question in very much wanted to know. So, and the cool thing is one of those original cars, one of those original ones that Bob built for Walt Disney, that's one of the cars that the citizens of Hollywood used to get around Hollywood studios. So that car, like Bob had just said, has been modified pretty greatly, but the original body of that car is very much the one that Bob built himself for Walt Disney and his family and his friends to kind of tool around Disneyland in. So there you go. That same Citizens of Hollywood car was once used by Walt himself. All right, well, on to the Walt Disney World Word of the Week. And this week's Word of the Week is brought to you by the letter U. U for United Kingdom Pavilion. Again, the one word is difficult. So this week's words of the week are the United Kingdom Pavilion over at Epcot. And of course, the United Kingdom Pavilion opened with the rest of the countries of the World Showcase That is the original World Showcase at Epcot Center on October 1st, 1982. Now, this pavilion was designed to resemble a stereotypical village from the United Kingdom. Basically, there are a combination of different architectural styles, including Tudor, Georgian, Victorian, and even a Shakespearean cottage. And these architectural styles kind of represent the history of the British Empire. Also, it's not told in a linear fashion, the story that is of the United Kingdom. So it's not like Liberty Square or Frontierland over at Magic Kingdom or even Main Street USA. No, in the United Kingdom Pavilion, it's completely non-linear. So you might have a building that was supposed to represent an architectural style from the 1500s right next to a building that's supposed to represent the style from, say, the 1800s. And that was done intentionally because that's what a lot of the towns and the cities across the United Kingdom actually look like. So when you go to the pavilion, you'll walk along the cobblestone streets. You'll enjoy the smells of the fish and chips, different English teas, and Bass or Guinness in the air as you make your way through that pavilion. In creating the pavilion, Disney's Imagineers spent 3 years researching pictures and books and visiting numerous locations throughout England, Scotland, and Wales. You'll notice authentic lampposts, signs, street furniture, and even those big red telephone booths. And these were all imported or inspired by things that you would see in the actual United Kingdom. All right, so here's a really cool one. While you're walking through this pavilion, look up at the chimneys on the tops of the buildings. Now, there's a great story about those chimneys. Once that section, that pavilion was completed, or it was supposed to be completed, the late Disney legend and Imagineer Marty Sklar was walking through the completed area with a bunch of other Imagineers. While walking through the United Kingdom, he looked up, stopped, and said, "That's wrong." The other Imagineers couldn't figure it out, right? They were looking up at the buildings, looking around, couldn't figure out what was wrong, what he was talking about. Then Marty pointed up at the chimneys and he said, "You know, if people are living there, there'd be soot all over those chimneys." So black soot paint was added to the chimneys, and it's been there ever since for more than 35 years. Now, if you follow down that path to the back of the pavilion, you'll find the only attraction here. And I put the word in attraction in air quotes, like you can actually see me as I'm recording this episode. But it's in air quotes because there's no actual attraction here. But there is a gazebo, or seriously, as my dad sometimes pronounces it, gazebo. That's true. I don't know why he says gazebo, but he does. And I have to bite my lip to stop myself from laughing every single time. Just imagine that. Oh yeah, they got married. Yeah, at a beautiful gazebo in the park. Anyway, so there's a gazebo where the band British Revolution plays 30-minute sets throughout the day, every day. So you'll hear songs from the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, The Who, the Beatles, all those famous British bands. I think that's the word, British, right? It has to be British. Anyway, you'll hear songs from all those famous bands there, played by British Revolution. Now, that gazebo where they play is in the middle of a park that's modeled after London's Hyde Park, where guests can go to sit, listen to the music, and relax. There's also a little hedge maze back there where you and your kids can go and kind of burn off some energy back there, as long as the sun's not out and blazing, and then you might not want to run around a hedge maze. But you and your significant other, your spouse, your friends, whatever, can get an adult beverage, stand and listen to the band while your kids kind of find their way around the maze. It's a lot of fun. So Mary Poppins actually occasionally meets in the back of the pavilion there, not too far from the stage. And Winnie the Pooh can also be found back there from time to time. And yes, I did realize I said gazebo earlier and didn't call attention to it. That was to try to make you laugh. I hope it worked. Gazebo. Anyway, if you take a look at the My Disney Experience app, to the left of the cottage on the outer part of the pavilion, there is a permanent meet and greet location where you can meet either Mary Poppins or Alice from Alice in Wonderland, depending on the time of day. Look at the app, or there's a board there right outside the cottage that has the times for each character. Of course, all of these characters make sense in the United Kingdom Pavilion because they're all technically from the United Kingdom. All right, so let's now talk food and drink and where you can find both in this pavilion. Now, first, I mentioned the smells earlier, and if there's one smell that kind of represents this pavilion, at least to me, it's the smell of the fish and chips coming from the Yorkshire County Fish Shop. By the way, and this is something I learned in research for this episode, in England, in the United Kingdom, they won't say Yorkshire County, even though Yorkshire is a county, because the second half, the shire part of the first word, Yorkshire, actually means the same thing as county. How about that? You learn something new every single day. So this location sells, well, fish and chips, obviously, shortbread, and serves beverages including Bass Ale and Harp Lager. So it is my kind of place. And actually, for me, it's kind of almost impossible to walk through that pavilion and not get an order of fish and chips or an adult beverage. So good luck if you're walking through and you're not planning on doing that. Okay. So if it's just a beer or a cider you're looking for, then there's the outdoor patio section of the Rose and Crown Pub, where it's kind of right next door to the Rose and Crown Pub, where you can buy those and you can go sit in a patio overlooking the World Showcase Lagoon there. You can also bring your fish and chips from the Yorkshire County Fish Shop over there. It's a nice little shaded area. You can sit, get out of the sun for a while, take a breather, and, enjoy a frosty beverage or two, or a bottle of water if that's your thing. Listen, or a Diet Coke or a Coke. Hey, whatever you like to drink, go sit in the shade over next to Rose and Crown. Now, if you're looking for a more substantial meal, you might want to head inside and eat at the full-service Rose and Crown Pub and Dining Room. By the way, fun fact, when researching the name for a pub, Disney Imagineers figured out that the two most commonly used words for the names of pubs in the United Kingdom, those two most commonly used words, I don't know why I couldn't get that out, were the words Rose and Crown. So that's how the pub got its name. Disney just kind of mashed those two popular words together. And there you go. You have the Rose and Crown Pub. There's a wide selection of menu items at the pub, including Scotch eggs, which I haven't had and I've heard people rave about. So on my next trip to Epcot, I have to stop by and get one. You can get bangers and mash, of course, steaks, and in my opinion, the best thing on the menu, the Welsh pub burger. By the way, confession time, this is a burger with Welsh rarebit on it. And I have to be completely honest in my confession. I stayed away from this burger for the longest time because I thought they were saying Welsh rabbit. Yeah, they weren't. They were saying rarebit. That's embarrassing. Anyway, so two things we learned today about my family. One, my dad says gazebo. And two, I thought Welsh rarebit was rabbit. Moving on, there are also a bunch of different ales, lagers, stouts, and more that you can order like Bass, Stella, Boddington, Strongbow, different kinds of black and tan, and more. So yeah, it's a great place inside. It's an even better place inside the Rose and Crown to get a beer or a cider or something like that. But if you're more into shopping, or if shopping is more of your thing, or at least you'd like to browse the stores, you can do that over to Toy Soldier. That sells all kinds of toys and memorabilia that are associated with the United Kingdom. There's also the Crown and Crest, the Sportsman Shop, and the Tea Caddy. And that sells all kinds of different Twinings teas, teacups, and teapots. So, like I said earlier, there's no actual attractions in the United Kingdom Pavilion. There have been rumors, though, and especially lately there have been rumors. A lot of these rumors gathered steam around the D23 Expo in the summer of 2017 out in Anaheim. But once all the parks and resorts panel announcements were made, there were no announcements for any kind of attraction that was coming to the UK Pavilion. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Look, Epcot's getting a lot of love right now with rumored attractions coming to other pavilions, with the Ratatouille attraction confirmed for France and the Mount Fuji roller coaster confirmed for Japan. Just kidding. I'm making sure that you're listening. That actually was one that was rumored and actually worked on for a while by Disney Imagineering back in the 80s. They were going to build a Mount Fuji roller coaster in the Japan Pavilion. But guess what? One of Disney's big sponsors was Kodak. And they said, whoa, you're not going to put a roller coaster in here and name it Fuji. No way. Of course, Fujifilm was one of Kodak's competitors. So that's one of the reasons why that attraction got squashed. Anyway, that did not get confirmed. And as far as I know, is not coming to Epcot. But there have been rumors of a Mary Poppins themed attraction coming to the United Kingdom Pavilion. which they kind of make sense because, of course, the new Mary Poppins film is currently in production by the Disney company. Then I've heard rumors about another possible attraction that's coming to the United Kingdom Pavilion. Of course, I would say it would only get one. There's not enough room, I don't think, for two attractions. So it might be the Mary Poppins attraction, or it might be an attraction based on a totally different property of the Disney company. This one is an animated film that was released a while back. That's all I'm going to say. Let your imagination run wild. You've probably heard the rumors too. Again, I'm not confirming, I'm not denying any of this. It's rumors. I've heard it. You've probably heard it. And if you've not, I'm reporting those rumors to you as rumors only. But I want to know from you, if you could design and install, you're an Imagineer for the United Kingdom Pavilion. It's your job to design and install any attraction you would like into that pavilion. What would it be? Go wild, make it as big or as small as you'd like, but there's only one condition. It has to actually make sense in the UK Pavilion. So I want to hear what you come up with. Head over to facebook.com/eartothere.phil to answer in the comment section there. You can also email me your answer to phil@eartotheretravel.com or call the voice line with your idea for an attraction. That phone number, once again, is 267-551-1971. And that is going to do it for this week's Ear to There Disney podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Thank you again to the one, to the only, to the legend, wait for it, Derry Bob Gar. It is so cool that Bob comes on and answers your questions. So again, if you want to get a question into Bob, the voice line phone number is 267-551-1971, or you can email it to me at phil@eartotheretravel.com. And thank you so much for listening. Again, it is so greatly appreciated. The fact that you took the time, the 20 plus minutes to sit and listen to this episode means the world to me, or to walk on the treadmill or outside or go running or do whatever you're doing. I know you could be listening to a ton of different podcasts, so thank you so much for choosing mine. Oh, my voice cracked a little bit there. I'm not getting choked up. You're getting choked up. Anyway, thank you again. It means a ton to me, and I really appreciate that the fact that you took the time to listen to this episode and any episode I've done. And all I ask is if you did enjoy the episode, please do me a favor. Tell someone about the show. You can send them to iTunes or send them to my website, eartotheretravel.com. They can subscribe anywhere where they listen to their podcasts, like iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, coming soon to Spotify. The show is all over the place. So thank you in advance for referring anyone. All right, just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning. That is the Ear to There Disney podcast. I want to make sure I get that Disney in there. Also, there will be a new episode of the, let's get it again, Ear to There Disney podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week, each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, thank you again so much for listening. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.